Some of the major news networks have decided to glorify the killers. Many leftists are openly celebrating Charlie's death. This is not sustainable, and it's not tolerable. The administration must demonstrate clear and discrete progress in dismantling left-wing terror organizations, starting with the cult of trans ideology. Meanwhile, the narrative machine is adapting. They're moving away from specific factual claims and entering the realm of perverse and deranged attempts at emotional manipulation. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman, for example. Watch.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
He's genuinely moved by these text messages between the cross-dressing furry roommate and the murderer who just executed a leading conservative figure in front of thousands of students, including children. He's acting like it's a, classic love story, a tale as old as time. As the assassin discussed hiding incriminating evidence and demonstrated precisely zero remorse or sympathy for the man that he just murdered, ABC News reporter Matt Gutman was touched. He was moved by the duality of the messages. Of course, there's no duality here at all. These messages are evil. Whether you take them at face value or not, they reflect an ideology of hedonism and violence and murder that is fundamentally incompatible with Christianity and Western civilization, that indeed is bent on the destruction of Christianity and of Western civilization. The shooter and his trans boyfriend, they weren't shacking up to glorify God. They didn't do that to bring any joy or new life into the world, but in order to commiserate, to hate, to bring others down to the level of their miserable, pathetic existence. And that's exactly what they did. That's why one member of this pair, at least one member, just extinguished one of the leading Christian voices in the entire world. But at ABC, the same network where Jimmy Kimmel works, by the way, incidentally, they're not horrified by any of this. They find it thrilling. They can't get enough of it. That's why 10 minutes after the segment aired, the same reporter doubled down. And in some ways, this segment's even worse than the first one. Watch.
Children were present. Children witnessed this. Children were put in harm's way. And that was something that obviously is aggravating here, and that's one of the reasons that the suspect, in addition to the alleged murder being political in nature, is facing the death penalty. They're going for the death penalty. And on the other hand, there is this duality of a portrait of a very human person, a very human experience from this entire family. As you mentioned it, the mother who essentially discovered that it was her son who had done this, the kid who had got a 34 out of 36 on the ACTs, who had a 4.0, who got a full ride to college here, that kid was the one who allegedly perpetrated. She saw those pictures and said, identified him essentially. And then those text messages, and I don't think I've ever experienced a press conference in which we've read text messages that are so fulsome, so robust, so apparently, allegedly self-incriminating, and yet on the other hand, so touching. Right, with the suspect reaching out to his roommate, who is allegedly his boyfriend, who we understand, identified as male at birth, now identifies as female, and the terminology he used. He was trying to protect him. He kept calling him my love. My reason for doing this is to protect you, but also asking him to delete the messages and not speak to law enforcement. So there's this heartbreaking duality that we're seeing very tragically playing out.
After his report, no producer got in his ear and told him to knock it off. No one at ABC had any issue with what he said. So he said it again with even more emphasis this time. He's happy to wax poetic about a murderer's standardized test scores and his touching conversations right after he shot Charlie Kirk to death. All these people need to be taken off the air immediately. Jimmy Kimmel, Matt Gutman, all these people should not be allowed on the air by their networks. I mean, it is irredeemable. And that's not just because of their response to the murder of Charlie, although by itself that would be more than enough. It's because, as everyone can now see, corporate outlets like ABC go out of their way to hide the truth about transgenderism and leftist extremism and the violence that it unleashes on America every day. They exist to hide the truth. Here's just one example of a story that they buried. This is from about a month before Charlie's assassination. Watch.
A Washington City woman accused of killing her parents is back in the headlines, this time appealing directly to the Utah Supreme Court. 29-year-old Mia Bailey is facing 10 felony charges, including 2 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of attempted aggravated murder after the shocking deaths of her parents, Joseph and Gail Bailey. Authorities say Bailey also attempted to shoot her brother that same night. She was arrested the next day and has remained in jail ever since, held without bail. Bailey, a transgender woman who legally changed her name and gender in 2023, now finds herself at the center of a legal twist. In late June, Bailey submitted a written request to the judge, appealing to the state's decision not to seek the death penalty.
Did you hear about this story? Probably not. No one did. I only saw it because of a random X account posted the footage. A cross-dresser in Utah was supposedly transitioning from male to female. He decides to shoot both of his parents to death. After being arrested, he shows no remorse at all. And then when the state announces that it won't pursue the death penalty, he files a motion requesting that the state change its mind and execute him. This demon actually wants to be put to death. That's an unusual motion, to say the least. Kind of thing that in a sane society might get some coverage and some attention, but no one talked about this case. Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Gutman certainly didn't talk about it, and we all know why. The vast majority of trans violence goes unreported. Unless trans-identifying individuals cause mass casualties at schools, churches, or conservative events, which they're doing with increasing frequency, as you've probably noticed, then no one hears about the murders that they're committing against family members or other individuals that they know personally. This is an epidemic of violence that's being hidden deliberately. The Trump administration has the opportunity right now to dismantle this threat. The entire industry of transgenderism must be outlawed. No healthy individual should ever be injected with cross-sex hormones, much less mutilated ever again. And the terror cells that openly advocate for murder on platforms like Reddit, Blue Sky, Discord must be shut down. Everybody involved hauled to prison. That's how you prevent these militants from coordinating and finding affirmation in their delusions. That's how you prevent them from killing any more of us. One of the many things Charlie accomplished better than anyone else was to have the kind of discussions that aren't allowed on major television networks or social media platforms. So we're going to end with this. It's a clip from one of Charlie's recent campus debates about 4 months ago. A sociology professor walks up to the microphone. He asks Charlie what Donald Trump is doing to improve the lives of students. And here's how Charlie responded.
What I would love to hear from you, genuinely, is what you believe the Trump administration has done in these first 4 months that is making the economic futures of these young people better.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's been in office for 80 days, but quite a lot. Number one, the price of oil is already down, so it's easier for everyone here to be able to drive home. The gas is going to be cheaper, which also will lower inflation. Number two, a tax bill will hopefully passed, which is no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, largest middle-class tax cut in history. Yeah. So everyone here that's going to have a job where overtime is incorporated, they'll be able to keep more of their money. Number three, we're opening up federal lands to build more homes, which is a great thing because home ownership is way inaccessible for a lot of people in this audience. And it's going to take some time. And one of the main reasons why President Trump won is because we were able to move the youth vote rather significantly and substantially because the Democrat Party, A, took younger voters for granted. I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely.
And B, they did not have an optimistic, hopeful agenda for home ownership, for getting married and having children in this country. So I would like to see the Trump administration go even further and make it so that every young person in this country can have accessibility to be able to own a home. I think they should prohibit major funds like BlackRock from buying up private family homes so that we have to compete against them. And I'll just do another thing I'm privately lobbying for and publicly, because I'll say it here, is I don't think the Chinese Communist Party should be able to buy up farmland in the western part of the United States.
Absolutely.
And with that, single-family homes. So that's just some of the ideas here.
Sure. So can I respond? I actually agree with most of what you're saying.
You can tell from the applause that, by and large, young people want to hear exactly what Charlie is saying. They want an administration that will make housing more affordable. They want an administration that will stand up to China and BlackRock and the big institutional buyers of suburban homes. They want cheaper gas so their commute is more manageable. These are all proposals that, for the typical leftists, would seem to align with their agenda. They're certainly not anything like what you would hear from, Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan or George Bush back in the day. What Charlie is saying is more populist than anything else. Bernie bros would endorse every word of it. As you saw in that footage, even the sociology professor was on board with what Charlie was saying. And maybe that explains why ABC and many other corporate networks have decided to defame Charlie in death. Maybe that's why they're deliberately inciting LGBT terrorism and celebrating it when it happens. Charlie was resonating with a wide swath of people, really across the political spectrum. That's what made him so dangerous. And he actually believed in free expression and advancing the interests of people who had no voice. That's why I spent so much time on college campuses listening to random college students recite their orthodoxy and debating them with respect and patience in every single case. He didn't have to do that. He had much more important people he could be talking to. He could have spent his whole career speaking to millionaires and billionaires, but he didn't. Unlike Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or Adam Schiff, he actually cared what no-name 18-year-olds had to say because he recognized their importance, not simply as voters, but also as human beings with inherent value. That's why he appeared in public so often in wide-open venues. And that's why he was murdered. It's been a week since that day. The official narrative that the media and leftist mouthpieces are trying to push remains incoherent. The text messages don't make any sense. Some of the major news networks have decided to glorify the killers. Many leftists are openly celebrating Charlie's death. This is not sustainable, and it's not tolerable. The administration must demonstrate clear and discrete progress in dismantling left-wing terror organizations, starting with the cult of trans ideology. And it needs to do so immediately. The opportunity is there. If the last 24 hours have made anything clear, it's that these people are panicking. They're desperately trying to come up with some new defense or distraction, however implausible it may be. They know the hammer is coming down. And now it's time to deliver the blow they're expecting and the one they deserve. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.